chance to go there, take courses, not only with WashU professors, but also with Italian professors as well, and really take in the art around them, as well as continue working on their studio work or whatever they might be trying to go ahead and work on. And so really WashU, as mentioned, makes it a great point for anyone to be able to go abroad and not fall behind in their studies. So moving ahead now, right in front of us, we can see Brookings Hall. Brookings Hall is kind of like this castle-like building on campus, and so you might have seen this on a postcard you've gotten from WashU or on any apparel or on our website. And so Brookings Quadrangle is home to a number of different events every year. Right here in the quad, one of my favorite events that happens is called WILD. It stands for Walk In and Lie Down. And so it's a semesterly concert that we have where every semester we bring in a big name artist and they perform right here on this stage. And this entire quad really gets packed with students. In the past, we've had Carly Rae Jepsen, Chance the Rapper, Childish Gambino, and one of my favorites that I like to talk about is Loud Luxury, because the spring of my first year, I actually had the chance to photograph Loud Luxury. I'm really into photography, and so I was given a press pass, got to go literally 6 feet away from the stage and take photos of Loud Luxury performing. Those are, to this day, some of my favorite photos, and so I definitely did not anticipate having that chance coming to college. But regardless of whether or not you'll be photographing it, it is a really great opportunity to just hang out with friends, relax every semester, and they serve free food and drinks there as well. And so it's a really, really fun event that everyone looks forward to every semester. Brookings Quadrangle is also home to a number of other events, including commencement that happens every year as well. And so we bring in speakers for that as well. And so the quad also fills up for different events every semester. For example, in 2016, when WashU hosted the presidential debate, CNN set up their broadcast station right here from Beaumont Pavilion, which I think is really awesome. Some students had the chance to be featured on TV, just holding up signs or standing there right by their broadcast center. And another example of an event that happens right here is a theater production that takes place within 24 hours. And so students will come here, meet, and they'll do everything within 24 hours. They'll write, direct, come up with the costumes, and they actually perform all within a 24-hour span, just one of several theater productions that happens here on campus. Moving ahead from Brookings Quad, we're kind of headed up towards another part of campus. And so on the left-hand side, you can see Hillman Hall. Hillman Hall is part of the Brown School. The Brown School is a graduate school. And so students at WashU can actually go ahead and do a 3+2 program in which they do their undergraduate studies in 3 years and stay on for an additional 2 years to either get a master's in social work or a master's in public health through the Brown School. And so I actually know someone a year older than me, and she's just beginning her first year through the master's in social work. And so that's an amazing opportunity to continue graduate studies right here through this 3+2 program. And it's ranked as one of the best social work programs in the country. In terms of what Hillman Hall offers, right here is just another angle of it. And so looking inside, you can see Fox Forum. Fox Forum is one of the spaces inside Hillman Hall. And so as you can see, there are tables set up. Students can dine at Grounds for Change. It's a dining option right here in Hillman Hall. And one of my favorite parts about about Grounds for Change is that usually over the semester on Tuesdays and Thursdays, they bring in a local food vendor from St. Louis, and you can actually use meal points to buy those local food products. And so I really enjoyed going there after some of my classes, between different things, to grab lunch and utilize my meal points and also try out different food in the St. Louis area. And then Fox Forum is also home to a number of different events. They'll put on different conferences for the Brown School here, but also WashU utilizes it for a number of different events throughout the semester. And so we have a TEDx group here on campus that puts on a TED conference every year, and they actually do the TED conference from right here. They set up a stage for the speakers, and it's filled with chairs, and so that's a really exciting event for WashU students to not only go to and hear from professors, but also hear from some of their fellow students that are featured TED speakers, which I think is really amazing. In fact, my first year, I took a course called When I'm 64. It was an ampersand program, or a Beyond Boundaries course focused on kind of aging from all different disciplines. And so as part of the final presentation in the course, we got partnered with a community partner, and we had to come up with recommendations on how they could be more age-friendly. And we actually did the presentation right here in this Fox Forum, every group had posters set up around the perimeter of this forum, and then groups could just walk by. Some of the community partners came in as well. And so there's a great way to kind of show what we were learning and hear about what other groups were learning as well, and also have a really positive impact on the St. Louis area. Moving ahead, on the left is Brown Hall. Brown Hall is also another building in the Brown School of Social Work, or the Brown School, and so they offer some lecture spaces. I had a course, not through the Brown School, but just a course that I took my first year, and that was offered in there. And so it was a decent-sized room to have a lecture of about 60 students, and we also had breakout sessions every Friday with about 10 to 15 students, which was a really nice way to dive into the material of the lecture more in depth. And so I really enjoyed that course and how it was set up. Moving ahead now, we're kind of coming through this green area that kind of meets at a couple of different buildings. One of the buildings is Wilson Hall, and so Wilson Hall is home to the PNP major. PNP stands for Philosophy, Neuroscience, Psychology, and so this is actually one major here at WashU. Students at WashU were interested in studying kind of all these different areas and seeing how they mix together, and so they proposed it as a major. It was granted approval, and so some students began studying PNP. And now it's actually grown to be one of the most popular majors here at WashU. Just goes to show the type of impact that students can have through what they want to study, and also coming up with creative majors like PNP. In addition, right here on the left, you can see Summers Family Hall. Summers Family Hall is home to the Psychological and Brain Sciences Department, which is where my major is housed. And so in addition to offering some classrooms there, I took a psychology course there recently. They also offer a number of different labs there, really ranging across different subjects. And so it's a great way for students to get involved as research assistants in that lab, but also something pretty unique is that students can get involved as research participants. And so, for example, when I took Intro to Psychology my first year, I had a research requirement in which I needed to actually participate in a couple of different studies. And so there was a website where I can go ahead and sign up for studies, and then I went to this building to be a participant in a few of those studies. And so students were actually contributing to the research going on and coming out of WashU, not only as a research assistant, but also as participants in these studies that were being published as well, which I thought was really cool and kind of gave you an inside look on how research is not only conducted from the researcher end, but also from the participant end, and kind of see both sides of that as well. So moving along now, we're kind of headed up right by Repstock Hall. Repstock Hall is home to the biology department, and there's also a number of labs there. And so that's another place where students get involved in research. And so to talk more about research, not only from the participant end that I just mentioned, but also from the research assistant end, there are a number of different ways to get involved in research, and WashU really creates opportunities for anyone who wants to get involved in research to do so. We are a Tier 1 research institution, and so we have over 3,000 studies published every year being conducted by professors, but also students helping out with that. And so we have the Office of Undergraduate Research, where students can go and find research projects to get involved with, but also students can just reach out to professors like I did, or professors will also open up opportunities for students by posting about research opportunities in their own labs or even the labs of their colleagues, as a lot of my professors have done. And research at WashU really spans all different areas. So there's research being done in the Psychological and Brain Sciences Department, as I spoke about, but also in the humanities, through biology, over on the medical campus, the engineering school, and really whatever you want to study, there are opportunities to do so. I'm a research assistant, actually not through the Psychological and Brain Sciences Department, but through the Owen Business School in a lab called the Consumer Behavior and Decision Science Lab. And so I've been involved in this for the past 3 semesters, going on my 4th semester now. And so through this lab, I've had the chance to conduct studies, work with participants, and kind of going about with our studies, but also attend weekly lab meetings, hear from different faculty members and PhD students in the lab, offer some critique, and also do my own research as well. And so that's been a really great experience, and one that I definitely have enjoyed a lot, and allowed me to kind of combine my interest in marketing as well as psychology outside the classroom through this almost interdisciplinary lab. Jumping ahead now, we see this bunny statue. So this is called Thinker on the Rock. It's kind of this little landmark on the Danforth campus. And so students will often go and decorate it with different things going on campus. Recently, I saw it decorated with a mask. And so students are just going out there kind of getting festive with whatever is going on. For Halloween, students will dress it up to promote different events like the Vertigo the Vertigo event that I mentioned, run by Council at the engineering school. They'll dress it up to promote it, and so just students getting in the spirit with whatever they might have going on. Now, up ahead of me coming up ahead of us is the Owen Library, and Owen Library is one of 12 interdisciplinary libraries on campus. It is the largest library, and so you'll see a number of different spaces offered by the library. Right here on the first floor, you can kind of see the help desk, where they can help you find book or meet with your research assistant in the library to help you find whatever you're looking for. And there's also a variety of different types of seating. And so over here, you'll see some more modern lounge type seating for students to work or eat or whatever they may have going on. And then you'll also see some desks over here and some quieter spaces down that way. But if the first floor isn't quiet enough for you, because that's typically where students are meeting and a bit noisier, you can go ahead and move up to one of the other levels in the library as well. And so here is the one level down. This is the Newman Exploration Center. And so there's some lounge seating here as well, different spaces to meet with one another. And then as you get higher up, it actually gets quieter as well. And so this is another space up on the second floor of the library. And so kind of looking out this way, you can see some seating areas where students can work and work quietly. But also I love working on the second floor because it's quiet enough that I can focus, but also when a friend walks by, I can whisper with them, or we'll go out into a stairwell and have a conversation, or even go down to the first floor to Whispers Cafe, which is actually located kind of right over this way on the first floor of the old library. And so it's a cafe that students can go and grab pastries, grab coffee, tea, or any grab-and-go items like a sandwich or a yogurt or a cup of fruit. And so they take meal points as well. I really love going to Whispers Cafe, just being able to go in there and grab stuff between class or while I'm studying on the second floor, go down to the first floor and grab a snack. And then also during finals week and during reading week, the library will actually put on a number of different events. And so they've had trail mix making station in the past, they've had a button making station. And so just ways for students to kind of relax and de-stress, which I think is a really great way for students to kind of have fun even in the library. And then in addition, one thing I'll mention with the library is that they have something called Bear Patrol, where these are students that can actually take you back to your residential hall late at night. And so they're not just available at the library, but anywhere on campus by just calling a number. And so these are students that will either escort you back to your residential hall, or they even have golf carts. And so if it's late at night and you're leaving the library, they might offer to take you back in a golf cart to the South 40, which we'll get to in a moment. And so just putting student safety and making sure all students are comfortable. Campus is extremely safe, but just going to take that extra steps to make sure that everyone has the resources they need to feel comfortable. Now moving ahead out of the library to Graham Chapel. Graham Chapel is main chapel on campus, and so WashU has no religious affiliation, but this chapel is used as WashU's non-denominational, has no religious affiliation. This chapel is used for a number of different events. They have a number of different speakers that come in throughout the year and actually speak right here from Graham Chapel. And so in the past, we've had Bill Gates come, we've had Hillary Clinton, we've had the Dalai Lama, and recently we had Pete Souza, who was the White House photographer under President Obama. And so he came and spoke about his experience doing that. And so for me, really interested in photography, that was an amazing experience to hear from him, as I've been following his work for a long time. And then also Graham Chapel hosts a comedy series every semester where different speakers will come and different comedians. And so in the past, we've had Pete Davidson come and speak right here from Graham Chapel. And so a really long line formed for students waiting to kind of get front row seats at that performance. So as we're kind of coming up to the end of Graham Chapel, I'll just take a moment to pause and answer any questions. Don't forget you can utilize the Q&A feature to ask any questions that you might have. And so we'll continue kind of going through these throughout the tour. One question we got is, what are some opportunities offered to first year, specifically on campus? How does WashU help make the challenging transition from a high school environment to college easier? One example is first-year programs that WashU has, and so these first-year programs are open specifically to first-year students, and so it creates an opportunity to meet fellow first-year students and kind of ease into the college coursework. I mentioned before when we were in Hillman Hall and Fox Forum talking about that community engagement project through Wenham 64, and so that was a first-year program. It was all first years in the course, and so that was a really great opportunity to kind of ease into my studies. WashU also has the First Year Center, and so the First Year Center is really great about putting on different programming for first-year students. Recently, for Thanksgiving, since a lot of students weren't able to travel home for Thanksgiving due to COVID, they actually helped put on a number of different kind of COVID-safe Thanksgiving events, and so they gave out bears to stuff, they gave out kind of a cake to make in a mug, and so different things like that to kind of ease the transition for first-year students. WashU also has Bare Beginnings, which is a first-year orientation program. And then WashU also has WUSAs, which are kind of mentors that help ease the transition for first years. And so I'll talk more about that when we get to South 40 and talk about residential life, specifically for first years as well. Another question is, what are the Beyond Boundaries students? Where are the Beyond Boundaries students based, and how can they combine majors? So Beyond Boundaries is a program open to students to apply into as they're working through their application process into WashU. And so this is a program for students that have this kind of burning question that spans a number of different areas. And so you might be interested in studying engineering specifically for females or whatever it might be. I spoke to a student and she was really looking on how gender bias can influence engineering and how different products are designed based on genders. And so she kind of has been using the Beyond Boundaries program to dive into this area in depth, kind of spanning across different areas. And so students come in with this question and they work through different areas to kind of solve that, whether that's through the undergraduate divisions, through the graduate schools as well. And so students are based through Beyond Boundaries, but you also after your second year, you go into a primary undergraduate division. But in addition to Beyond Boundaries, students can actually study from across different schools. And so students at WashU can double major, double minor, whatever it might be. WashU is really great about creating that flexibility for students to study what they're passionate about, not only through different courses, or not only through different majors and minors, but also just taking courses that might interest you. Another question is, what is the student-faculty relationship like? And are office hours and communication outside of class readily available? Extremely so. WashU professors are really dedicated about forming relationships with their students. I have a number of different advisors, including a four-year advisor who's been with me since the start of my first year, a psychological and brain sciences advisor for my major, as well as an advisor for each of my minor. And so, for example, my major advisor, Dr. Alan Lambert, I've taken 3 psychological and brain sciences courses with him. I've really enjoyed kind of looking at the areas that he's interested in, and so that's why I've taken so many courses with him, but also have had the chance to form a relationship with him as my advisor. But another example of a faculty-student relationship is Professor Erin McLaughlin, who I had my first year for a course called Children During the Holocaust, which looked at children under the swastika, that looked at children during the time period of the Holocaust from a variety of different perspectives. And so through this course, I got to form a relationship with Professor McLaughlin, but I also had the chance to continue my relationship with her outside the classroom, not only through office hours, but also just seeing her around campus. And then she was actually the co-chair of an annual Holocaust conference, and the year I was taking the course with her, it took place on WashU's campus. And so I had the chance to volunteer at that conference and hear from different professors in the Holocaust studies field and volunteer at that conference, and also continue forming my relationship with her. And then one more quick example of a relationship with faculty and students is Dean Jen Smith. Dean Jen Smith is the Dean of the College of Arts and Sciences, and she actually holds something at her house once a month where she'll host 10 students as well as a professor for dinner, and she'll make a home-cooked dinner, and students will get to meet one another, meet the professor, and dive into a topic. And so I had the chance to do this this spring of my first year, and so that was an incredible experience, kind of taking a conversation, an intellectual conversation about a variety of different topics, and doing that right there at the house of the Dean of the College of Arts and Sciences, which I thought was an amazing experience. Another question is sorority and fraternity life big on campus? Does it determine social life at all? So about 1/3 of WashU students are involved in sorority and fraternity life. I'll talk more about that in a bit, but by no means does it determine social life, as it's only about a third. There are some students, a third of students are involved in it, but even those students are involved in a number of different things on campus as well. We have over 400 different student groups. And so really, I have friends. I'm not personally involved in a social sorority or fraternity, but I have a number of friends who are, and I'm also involved in some other organizations, including a pre-professional co-ed fraternity. And so through that, I have a number of friends who are also involved in social sorority and fraternities as well. Another question is, what does WashU do to help students on the pre-med track that is unique to WashU? And what kinds of opportunities do undergraduate students have in regards to research, the medical campus, Barnes-Jewish Hospital shadowing? That's a great question. WashU has a number of different opportunities, especially because we have the WashU Medical Campus right across Forest Park, so really close to campus. WashU students not only have the chance to get involved in research on our campus and also through the medical school, but also shadowing at the surrounding hospitals. And then WashU also has pre-med advising. And so we have a number of different advising for all different pre-professional interests, including pre-law, pre-med, pre-dental, whatever it might be, there are resources for students. And then WashU also has a number of different pre-medical interest groups and clubs on campus for students interested in this area. One example of another program they have is a medical-based program for first-year students. It's called MedPrep, in which they can actually hear from different medical professors every week through this program as well. And then one last question that I'll answer now, and then we'll take some more later on in the tour, is WashU seems to promote interdisciplinary studies. How does the college encourage subject mixing in practice, and how easy it is to take courses outside of your major? That's a great question. WashU is really big on interdisciplinary studies. I mentioned the Beyond Boundaries program before, but also just students like me, I'm studying across three different undergraduate divisions, studying 3 different areas. And so through this, I've been able to take courses that kind of overlap in some degrees, but also even just take courses outside of my major and minors. WashU is really great about supporting students to just go ahead and venture out of their comfort zone and take courses that they might not have been exposed to in the past. And when I say WashU has a lot of courses, we have so many courses. One of my favorite things to do, in a bit of a nerdy sense, is to look through course listings, just because every time I do so, I see new courses offered, and they're really incredible opportunities to take everything from areas such as women and gender and sexuality studies, to art history, to courses in the engineering school, physics, astronomy, whatever it might be. There are courses offered in areas that interest you. And WashU professors are constantly innovating to create new courses. The professor I mentioned before, who is my psychological and brain sciences major advisor, he actually just came up with a new course that he started teaching last year called The Psychological Dynamics of Empathy. And so it was an entire psychology course focused on empathy, which I thought was really cool. We had the chance to learn about it from a variety of different perspectives. So please definitely utilize the Q&A feature and send any questions our way, but we'll continue on with the tour now, moving ahead and coming up to Bowles Plaza and Amrat Hall. So up ahead here is Bowles Plaza. Bowles Plaza is home to just this giant courtyard here where another WashU tradition takes place. It's called Happy Hour, and so every Thursday, the social programming board will have free pizza, drinks, and sometimes different clubs will co-program and co-sponsor the happy hour, and so they'll be promoting stuff that they have going on. And so it's a fun way for students to kind of hang out with friends and also just enjoy free pizza, drinks, cookies, whatever they are giving out that week. Also right ahead of us, in terms of Bowles Plaza, is the Scandalera Center. And so the Scandalera Center, you can kind of see right down here. And so the Scandalera Center is the Center for Entrepreneurship here on campus. They put on a number of different events and different programs to help students get involved in entrepreneurship, not only here on WashU's campus, but also in the St. Louis area. One example of that is the Entrepreneurship Fellowship that they have, where students will be given a stipend over the summer, and they get partnered with a nonprofit or a startup in the St. Louis area where they intern with over the summer, learning about startups, and St. Louis is the fastest growing city for startups, and also receive that stipend to help them cover living or food expenses as well. And then the Scandalera Center also does something called STEP, which is Student Entrepreneurship Program. These are student-run businesses which we'll talk about as we get toward the South Ward. I'll kind of show you and talk more about what some of those are. The Mallinckrodt Center is also home to the Performing Arts Department, and so it's also home to Edison Theater, where it's this giant ballroom, or this giant theater space that puts on a number of different productions every year. They put on theater productions. In the past, they've had Legally Blonde, where one of my friends was one of the stars in this, and so it was a great opportunity to go and see her perform. It was a really phenomenal production and completely run by students here at WashU. We also have a number of different cultural shows, including Lunar New Year Festival, which happens every January as well, and so that's another kind of cultural production that takes place right here in Edison Theater. Amrat Hall is also home to, or Amrat Lounge is also home to the Campus Y, which is an umbrella organization that oversees a number of different community service organizations here at WashU, and really go and impact the surrounding St. Louis area. And so one example of those is called Books and Basketball. Through this club, students can go ahead and volunteer in the St. Louis area, playing basketball or other sports and engaging with kids socially, but also helping with books or through academic mentoring and helping out with homework or whatever students might need help with. Another example is Safe Trick or Treat, where students will actually set up trick or treating right here on WashU's campus and allows kids from the St. Louis area to come and have a safe place on campus to trick or treat. Kind of moving ahead now, we're going to start approaching the DUC, which stands for the Danforth University Center. And so the Danforth University Center is this main building right here on campus. On the left, you can kind of see tables right outside of Ibby's. Ibby's is actually a sit-down restaurant. They take meal points, and so students can go there and order off a menu. They have some really great dining options. It's one of my favorite places to go with friends, especially to celebrate someone's birthday or after a big period of exams. And one of my favorite desserts there is the all-nighter, where it's this cookie skillet. It comes in a skillet, as the name suggests, and it has a scoop of ice cream on top. It's really amazing, and I'm getting hungry right now just thinking about it. But also in the DUC, they have a number of different dining options as well, including a stir-fry station, or including that has a Mexican station, a Chinese station, a pizza station, a salad station, and there's also as I mentioned, Ibby's there as well. And then within the DUC itself, there's this area called Tisch Commons. Tisch Commons is this big, giant sitting area where students will go ahead and just work on group projects together, go and study or eat lunch. And it also is home to another one of my favorite traditions at WashU called Tuesday Tea, where every Tuesday they will give out free tea and scones, and also different student groups will co-program there and promote different stuff that they have going on. And so it's one of my favorite places to go and just hang out with friends. My four-year advisor, who I mentioned before, who has been with me since I started my first year, in addition to having formal office hours with his advisees, he also has informal office hours where he'll just go and stand in Tisch Commons, and anyone can go up to him and ask him questions or catch up on life. And then some of my friends in an extracurricular that I'm part of, they'll go ahead and meet at Tuesday Tea every week and work on crossword puzzles together and just hang out and catch up. And so it just goes to show kind of sub-traditions that students come up with based off these really exciting and fun and different free events and stuff that WashU has going on for students. The Danforth University Center is also home to the Career Center, and so the WashU Career Center is open to students of all schools and majors, and not only to current students, but also once you graduate WashU, you're still able to come back and utilize the Career Center. And so right here, kind of on the left, you can see the sign promoting the Career Center. Students can walk in there and have help with resumes or cover letters. They can also help you with mock interviews. And they also do industry-specific advising. And so whatever your interest might be, you can utilize a career advisor there, whether that's consulting or strategic communications or the sports world, whatever it might be, you can meet with a career advisor there, and they're able to help you find resources. And then the Career Center also organizes a career fair every semester where they bring in hundreds of recruiters and offer opportunities for students to find summer internships or postgraduate opportunities as well. They also organize info sessions with recruiters, and then they also organize externships over spring break. One example of this is the chance to be on the set of Blackish and kind of have that 1-week-long spring break experience, which I think is a really cool opportunity to run through the Career Center as well as WashU alumni. The Danforth University Center is also home to the Center for Diversity and Inclusion. And so this is a center here on campus that really prioritizes making sure that all students feel included and have their needs met as well. And so they put on a number of different programming as well. They also offer services to help with other student groups be more inclusive and take into account run workshops, or also just take into account student concerns through report forms as well as different events that they have going on. They also organize an interfaith fellowship where students from different faiths can come together and create co-programming. And so just a couple of the examples of the types of programming that they put on through that. The Duck is also home to the Fun Room, which is this lounge area up ahead on the second floor. And so it's a fun way for students to go and play or just relax. I even have some friends who have gone there and taken a nap on a big beanbag. Heading out of the Danforth University Center, we're going to now head over to the South 40. And so the South 40 is creatively named after the 40 acres that it is south of main campus. And so this is where all the first years and most of the sophomores live. You can kind of see students coming out of the underpass here as well. And so the underpass, which we're about to go by, here you can see a kind of a painted piece promoting Safe Trick or Treat, the event that I mentioned before. But on these panels, you can see different student groups promoting their events. And so students every weekend will go ahead and sign up to reserve a panel, and they'll paint it to promote whatever they might have going on. And so just another fun way that students kind of get the voice out about different things that they have going on. Coming out of the underpass, we're now headed deeper into the South 40. And so on the right-hand side, you can see some of what I was talking about when I mentioned STEP before with the Scandalera Center. This is the Student Entrepreneurship Program, and so there are a number of different storefronts that are run and owned by students. And so an example is U Trucking. This is a trucking service or a shipping service where they will help students move their stuff to St. Louis, store it over the summer when students go abroad. There's Bears Bikes, which two of my friends are actually the co-owners of, and so this is actually a student-run bike rental place, and you can also get repairs there. Actually, I correct myself. My two friends actually just sold Bears Bikes because part of STEP is that once you graduate, you sell your shares in the business. So businesses are continued to be run by undergraduates at WashU, and so they're seniors now. They're coming up on graduation, and so now I think it's sophomores that they just sold it to have now taken on the business as well. And so this kind of cycle continues with things like U Trucking, Berry Sweet Shop, which is a candy store here as well. And so just a couple of the fun businesses right here on the South 40 where students can learn some entrepreneurship skills as well and have that experience running a business all while being a college student. On the right, you can also see the Student Technology Services, STS, where you can go and get help setting up a printer, a TV, help with Wi-Fi troubles or whatever it might be. And then they also have some 3D printers, which are free for students to utilize there as well. And sometimes they put on different workshops. I remember recently they had one where students can go ahead and 3D print a succulent holder and get a free succulent with that. And then to the right of it is the Learning Center as well as the Disability Resources Center and TRIO. And so these are different resources for students to get the support they need, whether that's with extra time accommodations or different learning accommodations, as well as have different types of programming and different types of learning resources put on, such as academic mentoring. Another example is PLTL, which stands for Peer-Led Team Learning. And so this is a weekly meeting for courses like when I took calculus, I did PLTL. And so I met once a week with the PLTL leader, upperclassman who has taken the course and excelled in it. And every week we meet and we go over a packet prepared by the course instructor, have the chance to go over any questions. And so this was an optional thing that I could sign up for, but I found it really helpful in preparing for exams and fleshing out my understanding of the material. We also have RPMs, or residential peer mentors. And so one of my friends does this where he is assigned a residential college. I'll talk more about those in a second. And so through RPM, he actually has office hours once a week. And so students can come to him and ask him any questions they might have as well. Moving ahead onto the South 40, up ahead of us, you can kind of see the clock tower or clock stick. And so this is a central meeting point on campus. When I've Ubered back from the airport, which has been really convenient, we just say we want to get dropped off at the clock tower, and a lot of Uber drivers know exactly where it is. It's kind of become a landmark in St. Louis. And then when I'm leaving for break or catching up with friends who go off campus and taking Uber off campus, we'll often meet here and Uber together from here, or just meet at the clock tower to walk to main campus, whatever it might be. Right by the clock tower, they also have URSAs, and so URSAs offer some evening programming for students. They put on things like pumpkin painting, canvas painting, and different cookie decorating, things like that, all free for students to utilize and kind of have some fun programming to do as well. The South 40 is also home to Bear's Den or BD. BD is a dining option right here on the South 40, and they have so many different options. Washu's consistently ranked in the top 10. In 2019, we were top 3 according to the Princeton Review for our food options. And so right ahead of us, you can see a stir-fry station. There's a kosher station, pasta, pizza, halal, Mexican, a grill. There's also a cafe, and there's also a convenience store called Pause and Go. We like our bear puns here, where you can utilize the salad bar, grab cookies, drinks, whatever it might be. But there are so many different options. As mentioned, there's kosher, halal. There's also gluten-free, vegetarian, vegan, dairy-free, whatever restrictions your dietary preferences might be. Washu is really great about accommodating those. And then Washu is also, on the South 40, we also have different residential colleges. Residential colleges are made up of a first-year residential hall as well as a sophomore residential hall. And so together this forms the college in which students will live. They'll have access to different common areas like the seated area as well as the little library. There's also study rooms on each floor of a lot of the buildings, printing rooms, laundry machines, vending machines, and there's also RAs on every floor. Residential advisors are there for students to help out with whatever they might need support with, whether that's residentially, socially, academically, whatever it might be. The residential advisors are there to support the students. In terms of residential colleges, there's also residential college directors. And so this is an adult that kind of oversees the residential college, made up of the first years as well as sophomores, as I mentioned. And so they're there to kind of facilitate everything going on. Briefly before, when I was answering the question about first year experience, I mentioned WUSAs. Again, these are people who kind of act as mentors to first year students. And so WUSAs will hold WUSA hours every week where they'll do things like bake for their WUSA kids, bring snacks, and also just relax, talk about the week, de-stress, offer guidance, and then also plan fun different events. And so one example of these is a trip to Fitz's Root Beer, which is their root beer place. They have really great floats, and it's located on the Loop, which we'll kind of get to towards the end of the tour. And so students will go there with their WUSAs, get it covered as part of the first year programming. Another example of a WUSA organized thing is some of my friends who were WUSAs took their WUSA kids to Forest Park to go ice skating for free there, which was a really fun experience for them. And then related to residential life, there are also faculty fellows. Faculty fellows are actually faculty members who live in the residential halls. And so my sophomore year, I lived in Nemrov, and right below me, I was on the second floor. Right below me on the first floor, there was an apartment where my faculty fellows actually lived. It was a chemistry professor and his wife. And so they lived there, and they actually hosted students for a number of different events. Early on, they had free Chipotle as a way to get to know students. And so my roommates and I went there. We got to enjoy free, great food, but also get the chance to know them. And they put on some other events as well, including a night for free where they took students to go see Wicked downtown in St. Louis on the theater. Now, over here, you can see an example of what the actual inside of a residential hall looks like. And so this is a room in Amrat house. It is, all the furniture you see is actually owned by Washu, and so you'll get this in all of your residential halls, regardless of what type you end up choosing. And so they have Tempur-Pedic mattresses in all residential halls. There's also some dresser drawers, the desk, the chair, mirror closet, and then there's also a bathroom as well. This room here with the bedding and stuff, that's all just set up as staging as part of the room. But a little fun fact about that is that it was donated by Amanda Zuckerman, the founder of Dormify, which is a company that does a lot of different dorm bedding, decorations, stuff like that you see on the walls and on the beds. And she's actually a WashU alum. Another example of just WashU alum remaining within the WashU family and giving back to the school like Amanda did. This is an example of a modern residential hall room, and so we have two different types, modern and traditional. Modern, as you can see, typically has a double like this with a bathroom. Most of the bathrooms are Jack and Jill, so you'll be connected to another set of double as well. There are some singles and triples as well, and then there's also traditional residential halls. And so, as the name suggests, this is a bit more traditional, where you might have singles, doubles, and triples connected with the hallway, which has some common space bathrooms for the hall. And there's also another type of traditional, which has suites, where it's about two doubles and two singles with a common area and a bathroom. And so WashU Res Life is really great about helping students match their preferences. You can go random, and WashU is great about accommodating whatever preferences you might have with your sleeping style, showering, whatever it might be, in creating great fits for roommates. And then you can also choose your own roommate as well, select that, and then you rank your preferences as well through residential life. So again, if you have any questions about residential life, please feel free to drop that in the chat. But now we're going to head back off the South 40 and back over to main campus. And so again, we'll kind of come back through the underpass as mentioned before, and we're going to be coming up right by the Simon parking lot. And so the Simon parking lot is located right outside Simon Hall, one of two main buildings, part of the Owen Business School. But I like to take this moment to stop by Simon parking lot and talk about transportation here at WashU and in the St. Louis area. All students are given a U-Pass, which is just a Metro card. You can take the public transportation in St. Louis, including a number of different buses, as well as the trains, the light rail around St. Louis. And so it's really great for students to get off campus and get involved or just try out different things. And so that's free for all students. And then, as mentioned, there's also really quick getting Ubers or Lyfts to campus around St. Louis. And so these are just some examples of ways that students get off campus to do things like I mentioned before, like books and basketball, or even something like MoneyThink, where students will go and tutor with MoneyThink, they teach financial literacy to local high schools in the St. Louis area. And then another example of a club like that is called Verde, where students will go to local elementary schools and teach about the environment, about sustainability. And so a number of my friends are involved in this, and it's been a really great experience for them. So now moving up ahead a little bit more, to the left you can start to see Francis Olympic Field. Francis Olympic Field has the name Olympic in it, as in 1904 when St. Louis hosted the Olympic Games, they were actually held right here on this historic field, making it a historic landmark. And so it's a really great space where students actually have the chance to compete with one another right there on that field that hosted the Olympic Games. And then in addition to that, in addition to hosting it, when students go and support one another at these games, the bleachers were actually the historic bleachers used during the Olympic Games, which I think is just a neat little fun fact and goes to show all the exciting tidbits here and there on WashU's campus. So in here, we're now in the Summers Recreation Complex. And so Summers has a number of different workout equipment you can utilize. Down below in this photo, you can see different treadmills, elliptical machines, spin bikes, weights, whatever you might be interested in using to work out. You can utilize that, free for all students to use. And there's also a pool which students might go to for swim practice or even to reserve and use in their own time. There are basketball courts that students can sign up for and just play with friends. And then we also have Barefoot Classes. Barefoot Classes are workout classes that are actually taught free for all students to utilize. And so examples of these include Zumba, yoga, Pilates. And so through these classes, they're actually taught by a number of different people, including some WashU students. And so one of my friends is actually a Zumba instructor for these classes. And so it's a fun way for her to get experience teaching Zumba, doing something she's passionate about, but also for some of her friends and just other people to go and not only support her, but also have a fun way working out right there through the Barefoot Classes. WashU also has a number of different sports to get involved with, including varsity NCAA Division III sports teams, as well as club and intramural sports. And so whatever your level of interest in competing is, there are opportunities to get involved. I have a number of friends on all different levels of this. And so, for example, some of my friends on Contra and Contraband and Woo men and women's ultimate Frisbee teams, they'll not only compete in local competitions and tournaments, but also they'll travel around the country. My friends went to California for that recently. And so it's been a great experience for them to kind of continue doing something they're passionate about, but perhaps not with the same level of time that a Division III sports team might require. And then, of course, there's also intramurals, where students can form a team of their own, whether that's with students on their first year residential floor, in a club they're part of, or whatever their interests might be. Moving ahead now, we're kind of passing through Fraternity Row. And so I mentioned about sorority and fraternity life before. About a third of students are involved in this. And so as mentioned before, this is by no means something that dominates social life, as someone asked about, but this is just another activity that students are involved in. And so in addition to kind of doing stuff socially with this group, they also put on different philanthropic events, including things like a kickball tournament, volleyball tournament as well. Right now, we're kind of in front of Anheuser-Busch Hall. And so this is part of the School of Law. The School of Law is one of the graduate divisions, the graduate schools here at WashU. But as mentioned, WashU has a number of different pre-professional advising for students interested in pre-law, pre-medicine, pre-dental, whatever interest might be, in addition to having our major advisor, our minor advisors, four-year advisors, career advisors. We also have those pre-professional advisors as well. And so coming up on the right-hand side is Mudfield. Mudfield is this main field that kind of is situated right in the center of campus. And so it is home to the activities fair that happens every semester, where the over 400 different student groups that we have will go ahead and set up tables that line the perimeter of the field, and then students will walk around and hear about different things to get involved in. We have things across different areas like community service, professional interest, medicine interest. I personally have gotten involved in a business organization, religious life on campus. I write and photograph for a food magazine, as well as photograph for a fashion magazine. And I'm involved as a research assistant, involved with the admissions office, giving tours like I'm doing now. And so there's no shortage of things to get involved in. One of my friends is involved in a butter churning club. I have another friend involved in a beekeeping club. Really, whatever interests are, there are opportunities to get involved in that. And students are really doing what they're passionate about, because we have so many different extracurriculars. Now, up ahead is the Owen Business School, Bauer Hall. Bauer and Knight Hall, in addition to Simon Hall, make up the Owen Business School. And so, again, this is one of the 5 undergraduate divisions here at WashU. And so inside Bauer Hall, you can kind of see this atrium here. On the first level, you can see students working, sitting at these tables right in front of a Starbucks cafe, as well as a Bauer cafe, where they have some other dining options, a salad bar as well, some snacks to go. There are some faculty offices up ahead with these windows. We like to joke that the professors want to look down and make sure that students are doing their work. And then as you go down different levels, you'll see things like the Weston Career Center, which is a career center specifically for students in the Old Business School. And so students can go there and have help once again with their resumes, cover letters, mock interviews, meeting with a career advisor, but also utilizing the interview suites that they have there. And so different clubs can reserve these to help their members do mock interviews, but also when recruiters come to campus, they might actually do interviews right there in the interview suite. And so it's a great place for students to go and kind of gain opportunities for internships or postgraduate opportunities right there through the Weston Career Center. And then it's also home to Emerson Auditorium. Emerson Auditorium is another auditorium space on campus. Different speakers will come in and do things here. And then also different clubs will reserve it, like a cappella groups who will put on performances right there through Emerson Auditorium. In terms of the Owen Business School, they have a number of different majors and minors, ranging from things like economics and strategy to operation and supply chain management, to organization or operation and supply chain, to organization and strategic management, healthcare management, whatever your interests are. They might have one that suits those interests, including a minor in the business of art, as well as the business of entertainment and entrepreneurship as well. And so they're really great about helping students find areas they're passionate about to study. And so anyone can take classes in the Owen Business School, as well as major or minor in those areas. In terms of the first year experience for students in the Owen Business School, students take 2 classes their first semester, including Management 100 and Management 150. And so through these courses, students have the opportunity to be exposed to the different areas across the business school, kind of gain that foundation, and also participate in a case competition where students will work in teams, have that teamwork experience, and work on a real challenge being faced by a company. So in the past, it's been Toys R Us, Disney, and one fun story that I like to share is related to Target. When that was the topic of the case competition, the challenge was how can Target deal with falling sales, and one group actually suggested that Target pull out of Canada and because of falling sales there. And a couple months later, Target announced that they were doing exactly that. Now, likely not because of the student suggestion, but just goes to show the type of real-world problems that students are solving, the way that they're thinking about those challenges. Coming up ahead, we're passing by Macmillan Hall, and so Macmillan Hall is home to the Office of Study Abroad. As mentioned, WashU has programs on 6 out of the 7 continents and over 100 different programs. Students from any school can study abroad, and so we have at least one program for every major. For example, in the Psychological and Brain Sciences department, for that major, we have study abroad programs in Sydney, London, Stockholm, Copenhagen, and Santiago. And so this is the case across all different majors, a lot of different great programs, and about 40% of students go abroad. WashU makes it really convenient to not only use one of those programs, but also find a different program if that's something else that interests you, and utilize a study abroad advisor as well. I actually had the chance to go abroad this summer after my first year. I participated in something called ISBA, which stands for Israel Summer Business Academy, and so this was a study abroad program based in Tel Aviv, Israel, where we learned about the entrepreneurship environment of Israel, the startup culture there, and actually had the chance to not only form our own startup, taking an idea from conception to MVP or minimum viable product, but also had the chance to meet with entrepreneurs there, visit startups, and so that was a really great experience to kind of have that hands-on learning experience, living in Tel Aviv for about 7 weeks over the summer, and also taking classes, earning credit directly through the Owen Business School. Now, moving ahead, we're going to be approaching Ryden Hall, and so Ryden Hall is home to one of the larger lecture halls on campus, and so we can take a look inside here at Ryden Hall, where this looks like a pretty big lecture hall, but as mentioned, WashU professors are really accessible about meeting with students, whether that's through office hours, setting up times for smaller sections, or even just being available to students before or after class. And so when I took microeconomics in this big lecture hall, the professor was really great about not only her office hours, but also having an econ help room where students can just go in at selected times and have help with homework sets or studying for exams, or even going over previous exams as well. Now, moving ahead to Couples Hall, as mentioned before, WashU is really great about providing opportunities for undergraduate research. This is where the Office of Undergraduate Research is housed, and I spoke about opportunities like that before. And this is also the home of the Office of Undergraduate Advising. I mentioned before I have 4 advisors, and so WashU is really great about forming those connections between advisors and their advisees. Like I mentioned, the anecdote related to Tuesday Tea and my advisor just being there for informal office hours. So as we kind of wind down this main part of campus, we're just going to be passing through Rudolph Hall. And so Rudolph Hall is part of the Earth and Planetary Sciences Department. And so through here, you'll see, well, we won't see this on the tour, but they have a replica of the Mars rover. And then there's also different books categorized by the type of research that they're focused on. And so blue being for water, green being for land, and red being for mountainous areas of research as well. And so this kind of just gives you a look at the inside of one of the buildings. So we're going to start winding down and kind of take a look at what WashU looks like off campus, as we've seen a lot of the Danforth campus. And so just north of campus, about a 10-minute walk north of campus, right over the overpass, which is the convenient bridge that kind of takes this big for a second, but I think I should be good now. The Delmar Loop is this big strip of campus, sorry about that. The Delmar Loop is this big street located about 10 minutes north of campus, and so it's home to a number of different restaurants, including Peacock Diner right in front of us, where they have dining open. They have like things like pancakes, waffles, eggs, and then right kind of above it, you can see the Loft, which is actually housing owned and operated by WashU. And so a lot of students will live here if they want to live off campus in apartment-style housing. And so it's a chance for them to kind of get off campus, but really close by, and so have things right there on the loop, like Pokidoki, a Poke restaurant. There's Mission Taco, which is a Mexican restaurant. There's also Soul Taco, one of my favorite restaurants, and so that's Korean Mexican fusion. And then there's also a number of different restaurants. I could literally talk about the food here for hours. There are also thrift stores and concert halls there as well. Forest Park is the next place we'll talk about. It's right east of campus, literally touches the border, the easternmost border of campus, and it's kind of between the Danforth campus and the medical campus. And so it's home to green space like you see here, including the St. Louis Art Museum, which is a free museum, and also the St. Louis Zoo, which is a zoo that's free. And Forest Park is 500 acres bigger than Central Park. It's a really fun place to go, especially recently for things like social distance picnics, or even to just go for a walk, a bike ride, a jog with friends there as well. And then up ahead, we can see the School of Medicine. Again, it's just right east of Forest Park. And so it's a metro. You can take the light rail right over there. You can also Uber, even walk there as well. And so that's located in by the Central West End, where there are a number of different dining options and food options there as well. So that kind of wraps up the bulk of what I'll talk about on tour. I'll answer some lingering questions, and then I'll leave you with my why WashU, kind of why I chose WashU. And so if you have any final questions, feel free to submit them. So one question that came up is, how far is the commute from WashU to Central St. Louis? What are some common places in St. Louis that students enjoy visiting? So great question. It depends on how you're getting there and where you're going. But as mentioned, there are things like the light rail. There are also Ubers and Lyfts, walking, taking the bus as well. And so everything is really within walking distance or within distance from one of those things like I mentioned. Going to downtown, it's you're able to take the Metro for free with your U-Pass. And so that has Busch Stadium, where the Cardinals, the baseball team, play. There's also the Enterprise Center, where the Blues, the hockey team, play. And then they also host some concerts there sometimes. There's the Arch, of course, the St. Louis landmark. And then there's also things downtown like the City Museum, which is a fun, almost like amusement park for adults with like interactive things. And also kids can go there and play there as well. And then there are also different areas around St. Louis. And so I mentioned the Loop. There's also Tower Grove, which is kind of right south of campus, and so or southeast of campus. And so they have things like Tower Grove Farmers Market, where every Saturday they'll have a farmers market. And so it's a great way to kind of interact with local vendors from the St. Louis area. Another question is, how do students engage with St. Louis, either through cultural experiences or community service opportunities? Another great question, as mentioned before, there are things like Money Think and Verde, where students will go to local elementary schools or high schools to kind of give back and interact with the St. Louis area. There are also opportunities to engage even directly through coursework. And so I mentioned my first year program called When I'm 64, where I worked with a community partner in the St. Louis area, providing some age-friendly recommendation. Right now I just took a marketing course called Consumer Behavior, and as part of the course, we actually got partnered with a nonprofit in the St. Louis area. And we needed to come up with some recommendations for them, applying what we were learning about consumer behavior and dealing with the challenge we're actually facing. For my group, it was Beyond Housing. It's just a nonprofit in the Normandy area of St. Louis. And so we were dealing with how they can encourage people to shop more locally. And so it was a really fun way to give back to them as well, and kind of take what we're learning through the course and take it to that nonprofit. Another question is, how popular is a biology major and the pre-med track at WashU? So there are definitely a lot of pre-med students at WashU, but there are also a lot of different students studying all different areas. And so in terms of pre-med specifically, I listed off some of the resources before, including pre-med advising, things like med prep program, as well as some of the pre-med interest groups and research opportunities, shadowing opportunities. And then the biology major is definitely popular as well, but really we have a variety of different areas to study. whether that's pre-med students doing PNP, psychology, biology, or even students studying areas that might not even be one of those. WashU is really great about allowing students to study whatever they're interested in, and so you can even study something in the humanities and still be on the pre-med track because WashU is so great about giving students that advising. Another question is, how easy is it to get involved with different clubs or activities? And so it's really easy. We have over 400 different student groups, and I mentioned something like the activities fair for students to get involved in. We also have Hugo, which has a number of different clubs listed, and so students can check out some of those through that website. What is my favorite WashU tradition? It would probably be Wild Walk In and Lie Down, which I mentioned before, and the one that I had the chance to photograph Loud Luxury at. We have so many. I mentioned Tuesday Tea, painting the underpass, and so there are so many different things. It's kind of happy hour. It's kind of hard to narrow down to just one. And then, can I expand on my experience as a marketing minor? Sure. So my experience has been really great. I took some prerequisite courses like microeconomics, calculus, and statistics, and then after that I've been able to explore some of the different marketing electives that they have, and so I've taken market research, consumer behavior, business and marketing innovation, and so just a variety of different courses that suit my interests. But this is really the case with a lot of the different majors and minors at WashU, really tailor to your interests and the courses that might interest you. How is the safety living off campus? It's a really important and great question. So WashU is really great about prioritizing safety. I mentioned Bear Patrol as well. We also have WPD, which is WashU Police Department, and we also have blue lights not only on campus but also kind of in the surrounding areas as well, such as along the walk to the Delmar Loop where I mentioned the lofts. And so in addition to those types of safety resources, WashU also gives students access to an app where if they're walking alone, they can hold down an app and then release it, and it will trigger something in case they're in danger. But really, I've always felt safe here at WashU, and WashU does a lot of really great, puts a lot of great resources out there to ensure that students feel safe and supported. And then one last question is, some schools have done a better job than others in dealing with COVID. Can I share some insights into how WashU has been dealing with it? WashU has really done an absolutely phenomenal job. We have free COVID testing for students on a bi-weekly basis where students can go right here on campus and get tested and get their results the same day or the next morning. WashU also prioritize the residential life experience for students and split them up so that students would be in a room by themselves to kind of slow down and eliminate that spread. WashU students are really great at wearing masks and social distancing. And in terms of courses, they've been really great at adopting them to have virtual courses as well as hybrid courses where I had the chance to kind of take some in person as well safely. And so it's been a really phenomenal experience, and WashU professors are really interested in kind of gaining insight into what that experience has been like and crafting it to the best experience possible for students. So unfortunately that wraps up all the time I have to answer questions, but you can definitely utilize the Q&A. You can definitely utilize the website to reach out to ask any questions. But just before we end the tour, I'd like to end with my why WashU and kind of why I chose WashU, and also thank you all for participating in the tour and visiting WashU virtually. So I came from a very competitive kind of cutthroat high school, and so I was looking to get away from that environment. And when I spoke to students at WashU when I was making my decision, everyone really emphasized that collaborative nature, and that has definitely been my experience here at WashU. I like to describe WashU students as friendly, happy, and collaborative. And so whether that's through coursework, group projects, studying together, or even outside the classroom supporting one another for extracurriculars. Like I don't sing, you don't want to hear me sing, but I have friends in the various 13 a cappella groups, and so going to support them at concerts. Students are really there to support one another and collaborate. And then in terms of the second point, flexibility, I've had the chance to study my 3 different areas, my major in psychological and brain sciences and the College of Arts and Sciences, as well as my minors in marketing and my minor in design. And so WashU has been really great about offering me that flexibility to study the areas that I'm interested in about, even beyond those 3 areas as well, taking classes across different areas of study that might not necessarily be my major or minor, but just an area of interest to me. And so I absolutely love my decision. I really love everything about WashU. And so even just being away from campus right now over winter break and having the chance to visit WashU virtually with you all and walk you through it has really reminded me of all those amazing aspects. And so again, thank you so much for joining us. I hope you have a nice break if you're on that. Enjoy the new year. And as Alana dropped in the chat, if you have any additional questions, feel free to reach out to admissions@wusu.edu or visit us through our other virtual programming using that website. Thank you all so much and have a nice day.